Hello and welcome back to my second presentation. I am Ruth Shefali Malhotra, and in this video I'll be taking up the second poem of class 9 CBSE English Language and Literature course. The name of this poem is Wind, and it is written by Subramania Bharati. Now, before we go on to analyze the poem, I'll be giving you an insight into the poet's life itself. So let us know something about the poet himself. Chinnaswamy Subramania Bharati was also known as Bharatiyar. He was born in 1882. He was a Tamil writer, a journalist, an Indian independence activist, a poet, as well as a social reformer. His numerous works include fiery songs that kindled patriotism during Indian independence movement. This great man was born in Etayapuram, that's in the state of Tamil Nadu. Bharati had his early education in Tirunelveli and later at Varanasi. He also worked as a journalist with many newspapers. Among those were the Hindu, Bal Bharata, the Swadesh Mitram, and India. Bharati has voluminous influence on Tamil literature. He was a prolific writer who covered various themes. Among them were political, social, as well as spiritual. His songs and poems are very often used in Tamil cinema as well. He also paved the way for modern blank verse. This particular poem of his, Wind, was originally written in Tamil. It was later translated into English by A.K. Ramanujan, who himself was a scholar and a poet of repute. Now, we move on to the central idea of the poem. This particular poem, Wind, that was written in Tamil by Subramania Bharati, talks of the power of wind. We all know that wind is a natural occurrence. But here, the poet has personified wind, and he is talking to the wind. This poem describes certain things that the poet wants to underline here. He talks of the devastating power of wind. This devastating power causes much havoc and destruction to everything that stands in its way, if it is weak and fragile. This effect and destruction of the wind that is talked about in the poem has a symbolic meaning to it also. It is akin to the adversities of our life and their effect that is created therein. Now, it is not only that the poet gives us the devastating power of wind and explains the effect and the destruction that is caused by wind. The poem also comes with a very strong message behind it. The message that the poet conveys to all the readers is that in the face of adversities, one needs to stabilize oneself. That is, a person needs to be both physically as well as mentally tough. In this way, we can combat, we can face the adversities of our life. Now, the poet also tells us that we should not be weak, we should not crumble when faced with adversities, but rather we should befriend them. And that comes only when we have strong will and we are determined. Because with strength and determination, a person is able to tide over every adversity that comes in his life. So a poet suggests that by being strong and determined in our approach, we can befriend the adversity and make it for our use rather than being weak and crumbling in front of it. The poet also says that weakness in a person breaks him down. It causes his fall. But on the other hand, if the person is strong, if the person is determined, if the person takes the challenges face on, then by his firmness and by his determination, he can come out courageous and be victorious in his life. So that was the central idea for all of you. Now a quick recap to all the points that we have covered here. First thing, the poet describes the wind to have devastating power, which causes destruction to everything that's weak and fragile. Second point that we covered, that this effect and destruction of wind is akin to the adversities of life and their effect. The message given in the poem is that one needs to stabilize oneself and be both physically strong as well as mentally tough. The poet goes on to say that we need to befriend the adversities of our life, and that can be done with strength and with determination. And so we would be able to tide over all our adversities as and when they occur in our life. And last, a person who is weak, he breaks down in front of adversity, and that causes him to fail in life. But with strength, we become firm, courageous, as well as victorious. So that is the central idea for you. Now we'll move on to the explanation of the poem, which I'll be taking with you verse by verse, stanza by stanza. I'll read it to you and I'll explain the literary devices and everything that comes with it. So, I hope that all of us are ready to delve into the poem, and I assure you that this particular poem would really be very enriching, and you will come to know how life leads you on and what you can do to be victorious in your life. Now coming to the first stanza, I'll read the stanza first to you. Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of all the books. You brought rain again. You're very clever at poking fun at the weaklings. Now, if we move on to the explanation, what we see here is that the poem opens with the poet addressing the wind directly. We all know that wind is a natural occurrence. The wind is showcased as a powerful destructive force. In the first 4 lines, the poet is advising the wind. He says, "Come softly, don't break the shutters of the windows, don't scatter the papers, don't throw down the books on the shelf." Meaning, he is telling just as if to a small child who is naughty and finds pleasure in picking up things and throwing them around. The poet requests the wind not to resort to such things, not to be loud, but rather come very softly. In the next 4 lines, we see a change of tone where the request of the poet is transformed into accusations. Here, the poet says to the wind, "Look, what damage you have done, what havoc you have created." Just like an unruly youth, the wind pays no heed to the poet's request and goes on to do all the things which the poet had asked it not to do. So the poet accuses him of enjoying its strength by mocking the weak people, by making fun of them. Now here, wind can be considered as adversities and problems in one's life. They are strong, they are forceful, they are there to stay. You cannot request them out of your lives, nor can you accuse them for the consequences you face. They will bring their woes and they will have their damage. It depends on how you face them. Neither by saying or asking them to go away from your life, not do this or that, nor can you accuse it by saying, "See what you have done to my life." That is what the poet wishes to talk in the first or in the opening stanza of his poem. Coming to the second stanza. Here, the stanza reads as, "Frail, crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all." Moving on to its explanation, we can observe here that the word crumbling is being repeated many times throughout this stanza. So the poet uses the poetic device repetition, suggesting the emphasis that he wishes to lay here. He stresses on the fact that when faced with strong wind, everything that is weak, everything that is frail falls apart and gets destroyed. Houses that are weak break down. Doors that are fragile get torn off their hinges. Beams which support the roof crumble if they are weak, and with it they destroy the building as well. Likewise, people who are weak succumb to adversities of life. They become dejected, depressed, and fail. They break in the face of adversities in life. The poet goes on to acknowledge the all-powerful wind, calling it a god who is also a winnower. Just as wheat is separated from the chaff, the wind god sifts the people, separating the weak from the strong, and in the process, the weak fall and get crushed, while the strong survive through the tough times. It's rightly said, when goings get tough, the tough. So that was Robert Schuller that I quoted to you. Now coming on to the third stanza. He won't do what you tell him. So, come, let's build strong homes. Let's joint the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steadfast. Do this and the wind will be friends with us. Here, the poet comes with an advice to all the readers. He says that the wind will never follow instructions. It will never do what you wish it to do. What he means here? That adversities and problems of our lives are not going to listen to our pleas and requests. They will have their outcome. So, what should one do? To combat the situation at hand, one should rather be prepared for it. As to tide over strong winds, one needs to make strong houses, joint the doors firmly, have a sure foundation on the rock and not on the sand. Similarly, one should not cry and moan when faced with problems and challenges, just like a weakling, but rather should be prepared, girded with physical strength and mental toughness. Only then facing challenges would be part of our lives and we would be befriending them. Thus, as said by Dr. A.J. Abdul Kalam, the whole universe is friendly to us and conspires only to give the best to those who dream and work. Moving on to the fourth stanza. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. The poet concludes by saying that even though we know that wind is as powerful as God, we cannot let it wreak havoc. We should give it only its due place and importance. Similarly, every problem should not be magnified and it should not have an ominous influence in our life. So much so that we become fragile and incapacitated in front of it. Because weak fires get extinguished when strong winds blow. So, we should rather face the adversities and make every problem an opportunity to be strengthened, and so we would use these to assist us to succeed. As strong fires are assisted to rage fiercer by wind. So, all big tasks have problems, but problems should not defeat us. We should be captains of these problems and defeat them and succeed in our life.
So, this is what we understand from this
Get
poem.
going.
That if the fire within us is strong, then every adversity that we face will make it fiercer and stronger. And the desire will keep us on, and we will succeed and attain our goal in life. Now coming to the literary devices that the poet has used in the poem. The first one is personification, that is, attributing human character to non-human or to an abstract quality. Now if we see, the poet refers to wind as you, that is, it is treating it as a person. The second one is symbolism, that is, when anything represents or stands for something else. If we see, the wind here symbolizes the adversities or the challenges of life. The third one is anaphora. What is that? When consecutive sentences begin with the same word or the same phrase, we call such a literary device as anaphora. Now the examples of these can be seen in lines 2, 3 and 4. Each of the 3 lines begin with don't. Similarly, if we see lines 6, 7 and 8 of the poem, they begin with the word you. Coming to the 4th literary device, that is repetition. Repetition is when words, phrases, etc. are repeated so that any emphasis or any stress is laid on a thought or an idea. Here the word crumbling, if you see, is repeated so many times so that the poet is laying stress that everything that is frail, fragile, breaks and falls down. And the 5th literary device that the poet has used is that of alliteration. All of us know alliteration is repetition of consonant sound in those words which are placed close to each other. If we see the examples, one I can give you, others you can find yourself. The wind god winnows. So the sound of V or W is being repeated here. Now coming to the rhyme scheme. As we discussed when we were discussing about the poet that he was a pioneer of blank verse, in this poem we see that there is no rhyme scheme. The entire poem is written in blank verse or free verse. So that was the poem for you. Now is the word book or the glossary, wherein all the difficult words with their meanings are given to you. You can go through them and you can make a note of them and learn these words as well. So I hope this video of mine was quite informative to all of you. If you really find it informative and you want me to share more such videos, you can like, share, comment and even subscribe to see such videos. Thank you. And
My
have a
special
nice day.
thanks to Dr. Robert Schuller, whose quote I took, that when the goings get tough, the tough get going. And also to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who told that the whole universe is friendly to us and conspires only to give the best to those who dream and work. Thank you all for watching this video of mine, and I hope that all of you will like it and also subscribe it. Thank you.